Hey guys, welcome to 6 feet 2 inches vlog. So in today's lecture, we are going to see a personality theory of Erikson's developmental stages. This is extremely important developmental stage and personality theory because there are two things. The questions are on based on this theory was asked in my NET examination the last year, the one which I gave in 2019 December, and and also the definition of Alport. Please memorize it the way it is because I was asked the same definition in my interview of Central Institute of Psychiatry, Ranchi. So what they expect from you is not the concept, but exact definition the way it is given. Like you have to just cram it. There's no other way. That's what they expect in the interview of Central Institute of Psychiatry. So they do ask you the definition of personality. So first we will go through the definition of personality given by Alport. Okay, so it's the dynamic organization within the individual of those psychophysical systems that determine his characteristic behavior and thought. Okay, so I'm going to explain how to remember this definition, okay? So the first thing is, according to Alport, personality is dynamic organization. Dynamic means which is not stagnant, like it is going to change and evolve through the time and within the individual. Okay, so within the individual there are psychophysical systems. So if we consider psycho, it is related to mind, right? I mean the brain chemicals, neurons, hormones, and even physical, you can say like physical aspect does also affect our personality, right? So it's combination of psychophysical system, that is the dynamic organization within the individual of those psychophysical systems that determine his characteristic behavior and thought. So this, it's obvious, right? We have seen in previous lectures, also in the lectures of biopsychology, how the hormones and chemicals play important role in mental illness and also in our behavior and cognitive processes. So this is the important definition, so please memorize the way it is. If you are attempting net, then maybe you will be asked just like the definition and who has given this definition, this kind of MCQ. But if you are going to attempt any kind of examination like MPhil clinical psychology, especially at Ranchi's CIP Institute, then they may ask you the definitions and basic questions. So do memorize. Now we are going to look towards approaches towards personality. There are two approaches. First one is idiographic. So remember that idiographic approach focuses on like uniqueness of individual. You can say like it does qualitative analysis instead of quantitative. Like for example, case studies. So case studies are the idiographic because in case studies we are just focusing on the uniqueness of individual. Okay, we are not like comparing the answers given by individual to other people. We are not forming any standardized taste or norms or laws. And the second one is nomothetic, which is based on the study of large number of people. And in nomothetic approach, the tastes are like it compares to other people, and it tries to establish law. For example, MCMI test, you might have heard of the test in which the normal people were compared with the people from mental institute, and then those traits or atoms were added into the test. So this is nomothetic, which is universal approach. Like they are intending towards comparison and measuring the large population. So that's the difference between idiographic and nomothetic approach. Okay, so second difference we are going to see is between Freudian and Neo-Freudian's approach towards personality. What does it mean? Okay, the Freudian psychologists are those who emphasizes on childhood past experiences and especially sexuality and aggression. But Neo-Freudians are those who have accepted some concepts of Freud, but they have diverted and extended his theory in social or cultural direction. For example, Neo-Freudians are Carl Jung, Adler, Karen Horney. Please don't pronounce it as Horny, which is that's not the correct pronunciation. It's Horn I, and then Erikson. So we are going to study Erikson's developmental stages today. Okay, so we are going to study the Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. Uh, I have given the table here. Please do memorize like everything, the age and the task at which age it occurs and the virtue developed after successfully completing the task. Okay, because this is extremely important personality theory which was asked in set examination, net examination, as well as in the Central Institute of Psychologists interview. It was asked in the MCQs as well as in interview. So okay, so the first one is trust versus mistrust. The task, I mean, which occurs in infancy and 18 months. It's like if the caregivers or parents are giving warmth and uh, like because the infants and children are dependent, like babies are dependent on their caregivers. So if they are responsive towards baby's basic needs such as food or sense of security, a love, warmth, then they begin to feel safe and learn to trust people around them. And if they fail to do so, like if the warmth coming from their parents or caregiver are is like fluctuating, then they would develop anxiety and mistrust, which will affect their interpersonal relations as they grow up. So if they successfully complete this task, then you can see the virtue developed as hope. Now, the second, which is autonomy versus shame or doubt, which occurs during 18 months to 3 years. Okay, so it's like according to Erikson's stage, 1 to 3 year old toddlers are struggling with issues of personal control and establishment of self as an entity. So, as children grow physically and cognitively, they acquire skills that allow them to become partially independent of their caregivers. For example, they can play with their toys, they can feed themselves, even they can dress themselves. So, uh, to some extent, they begin to develop self-awareness, self-trust, and at this case, parents' patience is important, and encouragement from parents' side is also important in shaping this child's success at this stage. So, if children is not taking care of their own basic needs and if they continue to depend on their parents, so they start doubting their abilities and they may also feel shameful. If they successfully complete this stage, then they will achieve the virtue called will. Okay, so the third one is initiative versus guilt, which occurs at age 3 to 5 years. So in this, the toddlers become preschoolers, right? So they begin to develop a sense of purpose. They like to explore and do things on their own. They begin to ask the why questions, or they start doing role plays of teachers, families in their games. And if at such stage the parents are not letting the child explore, then they may develop, guilt. So it's So the basic task at this stage is initiative versus guilt. And if they successfully complete this task, then the virtue developed will be purpose. Okay. So the next stage is industry versus inferiority. And the age at which it occurs is 5 to 13 years. So, okay, so now the child is in the elementary school, right? The 6 to 13 years old. I mean 5 to 13 years old. So children become competitive. They want to do things that their friends can do, that their peers can do. They learn to read, write, do math, and play sports. And teachers play a significant role in this children's life, as they are the ones who are teaching them the kids all the skills. As this time children begin to expand their social network, they get to know their abilities as well as others abilities. Okay, so they compare themselves to their peers as they feel the need to validate their competency. If they are able to compete, then they will feel proud and confident, and if they don't, then they will feel inferior. So according to Erikson, if the crisis at this stage is resolved, then the virtue developed is competency. Okay, so now we are going to the next stage, which is industry versus inferiority. Uh, Sorry, identity versus identity confusion. So it occurs at the age 13 to 21 years. So it is the teenage years, and the teenagers, like, now teenager is the phase when the person in this 13 to 21 years age group is neither a kid nor an adult. So it's a transition period for them, a turning point. So where what the person has come to be meets the person society expects one to become. At this point, young people experience a lot of changes in their body. They begin to contemplate on the role they want to play in the adult world. They examine existential questions such as who am I, or what can I be, what can I do. They develop like various opinions regarding like trying out various occupational or sexual identities by exploring different possibilities. So if young people successfully uh, cross this stage, then they develop a strong sense of identity. If they can commit to their principles, ideals, and beliefs, and if they can face the challenges and problems. But if any teenager who fails to establish their own identity at this stage can be confused about themselves and about their future, like they won't have any goals, or they may end up following other people's ideas instead of developing their own beliefs and values. So, if they are successfully crossing this stage, then the virtue developed would be fidelity. This is characterized by the self esteem and self confidence, uh, and which is associated with beliefs on the basis of their value, loyalty, and integrity. Okay, so the next stage is intimacy versus isolation, which occurs at age 21 to 39 years old. So we can say this is occurring when they have like completed their teenage years and they are now entering the adult world. So after developing a strong sense of identity, the young adults, they become concerned about finding a companion and intimacy, and it's just not about like having a romantic partner. No, they seek like expanding their social network. Then they start thinking about their career, family, settling down, and relationships, and also emotional intimacy, not just physical, but they try to explore and implement from all the aspects: career, relationship, family, And they also get to experience various things such as rejections or failure in examination or breaking up, and which can make the individual to isolate themselves from others, or if they are taking these things negatively, or they if they have successfully developed a social system or social support system, then they are able to develop a virtue called love. Okay, so now we are going to the next stage called generativity versus stagnation. It occurs at age 40 to 65 years. Okay, so this is the seventh stage of Erikson's developmental stage, and the primary concern of middle-aged adults is leaving a legacy. They feel the urge to be productive and make contributions to the society. For example, they may volunteer or mentor any young children. They may want to make this world a better place for future generations. They might like indulge themselves in social work or activities, or they might experience milestones like their children leaving home or change of their own career path, etc. So some people may also experience midlife crisis and find struggle with finding new purposes in their lives, and a failure to resolve such crisis in the middle age, like middle adulthood, can lead people to experience stagnation. They may become uninterested in their environment and the people around them. But if they successfully resolve this crisis, like this stage, then the people would develop virtue called care. And they are, if they develop this virtue, they then they are able to offer unconditional support for their children, the community and the society. Okay, so now we are going to the last stage, which is integrity versus despair, and it occurs at 65 plus age, like 65 and older. So this is where retirement takes place, and you have like experienced all stages of life right from the start of entering or developing the virtue of trust, and finally now you're 60, crossing 60, and now you're thinking about death. And if you know that in your life since your childhood till your adulthood you have made a significant or meaningful contribution to the society during your younger age, and if you look back at your life and if you experience like yes I did something, then you will experience a sense of integrity and you will feel proud of your own achievements. And if you might have some regrets, but uh, if you have always experienced failures or took your life experiences negatively since your teenage years, adult years, even psychological research says that in right from the childhood the most important experiences which we remember is from 20s till 30s, like 20 to 30s, whatever we experience is like the most we remember. So if the people who are unsuccessful at this stage, they may experience despair. They may feel that they have wasted their life, or they may have bitterness towards other or themselves for not accomplishing whatever they wanted to, and they wish they had second chances. So if this crisis or stage is successfully resolved, then the virtue of wisdom is developed. Okay, so this is characterized by broad-mindedness, appropriate emotional expressions, and there is a peace of mind in elderly people. And they are also likely to reflect on their life positively, and they are ready to face death. So this is the psychosocial stage of personality development of Erikson. So please memorize all the virtues in order, psychological task, and age at which it occurs. Okay. So now we are going to do a concept check. The first question is easy. I hope you can answer this. A counselor is using a case study method in a counseling session. Which of the following approach towards personality is the counselor using? First, option A is nomothetic, B is idiographic, C is Alport's, D is psychoanalysis. Take a pause, try to answer by yourself, then go to the next slide. Okay, so the answer is idiographic approach because case study method is something which is qualitative, subjective, and related to only one person. Okay, so the second question is you have to arrange Erikson's psychosocial task in ascending order. Okay, so A is it trust versus mistrust, initiative versus guilt, identity versus confusion, autonomy versus shame, industry versus inferiority, intimacy versus isolation, integrity versus despair. Option B, initiative versus guilt, identity versus confusion, trust versus mistrust, industry versus inferiority, generativity versus stagnation, autonomy versus shame, intimacy versus isolation, integrity versus despair. Option C, trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus confusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation, or integrity versus despair. And option D, integrity versus despair, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, autonomy versus shame, intimacy versus isolation, trust versus mistrust. Okay, so the correct answer is C. Now, here's the trick how to remember this sequence. So, the first four are occurring in childhood, then the one stage which is identity versus confusion is occurring in teenage years, then one is occurring in adulthood, which is intimacy versus isolation, and the two, which is generativity versus stagnation, and integrity versus despair, which is occurring in old age. Okay, so these are the stages, and this is a trick to memorize the stages. I hope you memorize this. So tomorrow I will be uploading the MCQs. I mean today I will be uploading the MCQs till evening. So do go through all the lectures which I've uploaded. You can go to my channel and click on the playlist. In the playlist you can see psychology lectures. Under it you will see all the videos. Go through the videos, and I will be uploading MCQs based on the videos, as well as the questions asked in the previous examinations. So all the best, and do memorize the important points. Thank you. Okay, so thanks for watching. Do subscribe and share the video with your friends, and stay tuned for more upcoming conceptual videos related to NET, JRF, set psychology, and for MCQs, which will be uploaded once a week based on the all the lectures which I will be sharing from Monday to Saturday. So do go through the videos. Thank you.